My pleasure to say welcome back, everyone. Glad for me to take over this part of the show this Tuesday morning on The Morning Show here on Love FM and Love Television. As always, our intent is to make your morning a little more special and, of course, a little more, informative and help you make some decisions throughout the day. And one of those things we do is invite persons here who are familiar or are experts in their field and telling us what's available out there for us to talk about. We could be about politics, could be about science, it could be about nature, it could be about anything. And this morning I have the pleasure of inviting and also having with me Dr. David Aguilar, who's a computer science programmer at Galen University. Am I right?
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
And, computer science, that's what it's all about these days.
It's certainly a topic that people are discussing quite a lot.
That's right. And we live with it every day. No matter how basic you are now, you are using some sort of computer science, aren't you?
Absolutely.
I mean, basic. Even the oldest person might only have a phone just to dial a number. But that phone will dial it on its own. You don't have to press all the numbers. That is computer intelligence, isn't it?
Yes, and what I tell my students is that any field of human endeavor these days is either made available or made better by the inclusion of technology, computer science.
That's right. And you do have a program at Galen.
At Galen, yes, a computer science undergraduate program right now.
All right. Before we do that, then how would you describe what is computer science? It's the study of what?
I think a lot of the misconception is that people don't really have a clear distinction between the more common term IT and computer science.
Right.
And what I tell people is that IT is like an overarching branch. It's anything involving computing, information technology. That's what it stands for.
Because IT stands for what? In
information technology.
Technology, right.
So anything involving communication using electronics would fall under IT. Computer science is a part of IT. It's a part where we use computers to solve problems. So whether you want to run a simulation, whether you want to do a design for a bridge, whether you want to write a program that solves some kind of a computational issue. Mm-hmm. So computer science is the use of technology to solve human problems. That's the basis of what it is.
Okay, it makes whatever your profession, job easier.
Yes, yes.
Is it making us lazier? We don't have to. I'll tell you why, because when I was in high school, which was a long time ago, I hated math.
Okay.
It's not my best subject.
Well, you can still hit math. I mean, that's not going to change that.
And I had to learn, but at that time you had to learn your 12 times table, and they put you to stand, and you have to memorize all of them, right?
Yeah.
And I used to hate it, But just about that time, they brought out the calculator became more popular and accessible to most of us. I was the happiest man on earth. I didn't need my 12 time table anymore. I had a computer. I mean, a calculator. And that is a computer, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It's a basic. So making us more lazy, I wouldn't characterize it that way. I think the activities are different. We don't have people who are sharpening arrows to go hunting anymore. That's not how we get our food. Mm-hmm. So our jobs are different. Our activities are different. We do have more leisure time, probably. Right? You can spend more time indoors and still be successful, whereas in the past, if you were hunting or gathering, those are the kinds of jobs that we did. So I think it certainly changes the kinds of activities that we engage in. Mm-hmm. But I think that successful people are going to find something to be busy and to be dedicated to anyway.
Well, like they say, it gives you more time for other pursuits, like you said. But the important part of this discussion is not if it makes you think less or be less creative. No. The fact is that you must understand it.
Yes.
So you can deal with it, and you do that by a course at Galen.
A course at Galen would definitely help, sure.
Yeah, definitely. Tell us about the course.
Okay, so it is an undergraduate degree that is designed to give the fundamentals of computer science for the broadest applications possible. When I talk to people about the program, often, immediately everybody turns into an expert. You should teach them this, you should explain this to them, you should teach them this programming language. We only have so many credit hours with them. And so what we want to do is lay a really solid foundation so they can either go on to a master's degree, which many of them do, or get a job immediately. We get calls every week asking when the next graduation is, which, by the way, it's in July of this year.
Okay.
Because they can't wait for people to be graduate with this degree so they can get jobs. Most of our students get internships, and they flip that into a full-time job even before they graduate. So we can't produce them fast enough to meet the need. So that is a good piece of evidence that it's very relevant to what we're doing both locally and internationally.
Why the demand? When I do a course of computer science, what does it prepare me to do?
At the very basic level, it gives you digital literacy. You get to understand what computers are, how they work, and how you can use them to make your life better and make your job easier to do, to facilitate different kinds of activities. From there, we take that and we teach them about the specifics about, how to write a program, how to use the software that's already out there to apply it to problem solving. And those are really valuable tools. Not everyone can just do that instinctively. People can teach themselves a lot of things using the internet. But within the structured framework we give them, it really gives them both the discipline, the knowledge, and the familiarity with the field that they can just launch into any profession that's related to it very easily.
How long is the course?
It's designed to be a 3.5 to 4 year course, depending upon how many semesters.
That's pretty
how much they pack the semester.
That is not a course. That's a whole.
A lot of students come in with 2 years of an associate's degree, and so that's cut down the time. Coming in from high school, it's 3.5 to 4 years. But if they come in with some credits from a junior college, then it cuts down the time significantly.
Already some computer science credits.
Well, even just math, English, the basics.
That's what I was going to get at.
Yeah.
For me to do the computer science course, what fundamental basics do I need? Because you're dealing with mathematics, algorithms, hardware, software.
We again mostly focus on software. But in terms of the entrance level, it's just a high school diploma. There's no specialized knowledge required. We take it from the beginning. And if you come in with some information already, if you come with some practice already, we try to give you as much credit as possible. So we're not wasting your time spinning your wheels. We try to teach you what you need to know next towards your degree and towards a job or further education.
So it's a profession on its own.
Computer science?
At first I was thinking about maybe a 6 months course.
No, this is
that I could add to my resume. I could like in this job, in
well,
communication.
we are looking into giving
on my resume. Right,
some
my resume said, "Do you know anything about computer science?" I say, "Yeah, I did a 6 months course." That would be would that be a plus?
Sure, and those are things that are in the pipeline. We're also looking at doing a 2+2, where a student coming in from high school can just do an associate's for the first 2 years if they want. Well, of course, we always encourage them to get the highest degree that they can for their own good. But if they want to just build credits towards another degree, like an engineering degree, they can take 2 years at Galen with an associate's in computer science and transition into something that's related. But we're also looking into certificate programs, 6 months, a year, and then they get certification in specific things like programming, like networks, like database management. Those are certainly things that we've been planning for a while now.
Because what I'm asking is that in today's world, the way technology is moving, AI and all that, you need to understand what you're dealing with.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you take out your phone and you start WhatsApping and whatever, it's a plus for you, an advantage that you understand what's going on in that machine.
Right.
And well, if it's a machine, I don't know if you can call it a machine anymore. I guess once it's hardware and it's
machine is fine. They're not offended if you call them that.
Because explains, we hear about algorithms.
Yes.
What's an algorithm?
An algorithm is a fancy word for a process, a series of steps. When you wake up in the morning and brush your teeth and you put on your clothes and you get on a bus and you go to work, that's an algorithm. You're doing an ordered series of steps to accomplish a goal.
Okay.
A program is just an algorithm that a computer runs, a series of steps to accomplish a goal. So it's not as complicated as people seem to make it sound.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not for you. But is this the same in the old days, way back with computers? You had the zeros and the ones and the zeros and the 111. That's supposed to be the computer language. Is that
everything
the algorithm?
The algorithm is expressed in that language. Zeros and ones is the language the computers speak. It's binary, and so every instruction we give it, whether to check your email or to go to a browser, to type a document in Word, that's all broken down to zeros and ones on the machine level. So inside the box, that's what's happening. Your instructions are being translated into zeros and ones. The algorithm is what the zeros and ones do. To write the Word document, to check your email, to go online. Those are the processes that it's accomplishing using the zeros and the ones.
Okay, and you need to understand this.
If you're designing the computer system, yes.
Right. Getting a degree in computer science from Galen, what jobs am I prepared for?
With a computer science degree, almost anything. We have a number of our graduates working as database managers, as system analysts, as marketing specialists, because a part of it involves digital marketing, computer graphics, putting up a website. Those are all things that are involved as well. So the kinds of jobs you can do it's very broad.
And everything now needs or uses computers, doesn't it?
Yes.
Whatever you do.
Yeah. 15 years ago, I was telling my students that for a business to succeed, 90% of businesses would fail if they didn't have a website. Nowadays, I would alter that to say, social media.
Yeah.
So you need to have some kind of an online presence, regardless of whether your business has anything to do directly with technology or not.
There are a lot of successful influencers, as you know, on social media.
Yeah.
And I would say they have very little understanding of how the equipment works itself.
But they can use the tools.
But they use the tool.
Right.
Would it be an advantage to understand what the tool does?
I think it depends on what they want to do. If they want to be in charge of their own social media presence, it would certainly help them to understand how the algorithm works, how they're advertised, what they can do and what they can say to get their popularity to rise. When I was teaching in South Carolina, one of my colleagues was another computer science professor whose whole job was what he called reputation management. And so companies would hire him to make sure that when they search for their industry on Google, their company would be in the first three names. Or if the company was involved in something negative, to make sure the negative press would vanish from the internet. So that's an industry all of its own, managing your online reputation. There are entire specialists just for that.
How long have you been professor on this subject?
I got my PhD in 2007, I think, so since then.
So
and I've been teaching in the US.
Obviously been studying it years before.
Yes. And I moved back to Belize in 2010, and I've been at Galen since May of 2010.
Okay. In your experience, and you've been in, I would say, the heart of it, how has it developed? To what speed? And how has it changed its influence on how we behave today? Well, let's take it one at a time.
It's a big series of questions.
The progress it has made. When
Okay.
I've been dealing with computers myself. One of my first jobs was to market computers. They had a brand name Wang, which had a green screen and a monochrome screen, basic computer. And what I've seen happen today, and my phone is more powerful now than those computers they were.
Right.
And you've been in the belly of the beast, so to say. When you started out, what did you start out with?
Pretty much what you're describing. When I was in high school, I had to choose between computers or some other field, and I chose
That time it
computers.
was IBM.
Yeah, it was IBM machines, and it was all monochrome. It was all CRT screens. The scans. So computer graphics wasn't really a thing. It was all characters on the screen. We had a ludicrously small amount of hard drive space compared to now, and it was all just writing little programs to get things done. And the development has been so fast since then. I don't think anybody has really been able to track it. I don't know if any one person can claim to be an expert in every aspect of the field, just in terms of its development, because it's been so quick. And of course, with AI entering the discussion in the past, 5 years, if anybody tells you they know what's going on or what's going to happen next, they're deceiving themselves. We can kind of hold on for the ride, and those of us who are in the industry have a little bit of a better grasp of what's happening, but it's all about how well you educate yourself and keep track of the trends. But things are changing so fast. There's a temptation to just kind of cover your ears and just kind of wait for things to slow down, but it's not going to probably.
No.
So it's here to stay. We have to deal with it, and we just have to kind of do our best to see where we can find a niche to fit in and use it to our advantage as best
I think
we
an
understand
advantage you have as a professor is that you've been in there from the primitive times to now. So you can't teach that to your students. They can only learn what happens, or you can tell them.
I try to touch on the history of it a little bit, but that has
they
limited.
don't need to understand. But it's good to know that.
It
to
is,
know
and
how
one
it
of the things
started out and what it's done to our lives.
One of the things I'm concerned about is if we lost our technology, would we be able to rebuild it from scratch? And I don't think so. I think it's come so far and it's had so many lucky breaks and so many advantages and the right person at the right time. We'd probably develop something similar, but not exactly the same as what we have now. It's so complex.
And the influence on you as a person, has it changed over the years? First year, let me change the word influence to dependency.
Okay. Well,
when you started out, the memory was so small. You still had to do a lot of things on your own.
Yeah.
But now, has that dependency on technology, you as a professor and being involved with it and teaching it, has your dependency changed, or because you are there from the beginning that you can control that?
I think the tools have increased in their value to such a degree that if you don't use them, you get left behind. Using the tools now, you can do things faster, easier, more accurately. It catches your mistakes. For example, you mistype a word in Word, and it gives you the red squiggly line. So you can it
But
makes
it also makes you send wrong text. You know that it spell corrects you, and you end up sending the wrong word
or to the
But
wrong
that's
person.
or the wrong person, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So yes, I think it would be foolish to not take advantage of the tools available to us. If you want to do a good and efficient job and keep up with the industry's standards for education, just as with any other field of endeavor, you really have to become familiar to some degree with what's available to make the work possible and to make the work faster and to make the work more accurate. So my dependence on it has increased just like everyone else. I think all the jobs that there are involve computer science at some degree. You could be a teacher, obviously. You could be a farmer. You could be an accountant. Anything you do, it's going to involve some computational power. And so it's certainly to our advantage to take advantage of what's available to allow those jobs to proceed, as best as we can do them.
I like you mentioned the teacher part of it, because a teacher knowing a little bit of this, you think would be better able to relate to her younger students who are growing up with the technology, or his younger students.
Yeah, because we need to know what media our students are consuming so that we can relate to them, as you say. I reference TV shows that they might be watching, online media they may be consuming, because I want to give examples that are relevant to their experience, so it kind of sticks in their head longer and they can say, I can apply it in this way. If I'm talking about stuff that was happening in the world 20 years ago, they're not going to be able to make the same connections as if I talk about what they're doing now in their daily lives.
That's right.
I was using an example I was talking about computer fraud, and I was using an example of Milli Vanilli.
Uh-huh.
You remember?
Yeah,
you and I remember.
They could sink their way to fame.
But they didn't know who I was talking about. I was shocked. Like, isn't this still in the public consciousness? This was one of the biggest stories in media in the 1980s.
It is,
and
yeah.
they had no idea who I was talking about.
Yeah, I know.
I have to kind of stay with it a little bit better, I think.
That's so true. So, tell us more about the program at Galen, and I hope by now our conversation has spiked some interest in those who never thought of taking on computer science. What are the requisites? How do you sign up?
Okay.
Where are the courses? Online, offline, whatever?
So because of COVID, many of our programs did have to go online for a while. The advantage of computer science is that we always had an online component of our program, our specific degree. And so not much change. I think we weathered that change very well. And now a lot of our students in the computer science program are working full-time. They have families or they live far away, and they can't really come to a central location. So the majority of our computer science students are actually online students. And you can take classes face-to-face. It actually makes things a little bit easier to schedule if you can mix and match some face-to-face and some online. But for students who want to do it fully online, they certainly can. So your level of how busy you are, whether you have a full-time job or whether you live far away, it's not a barrier at all. In terms of prerequisites, anything high school degree and up, we take that. It's not a problem. We start from the basics. Unlike an IT degree, we do focus mostly on application development, writing programs, and using existing software to solve problems, as opposed to things like computer repair, computer maintenance, and networking. We do talk about those things, but you become a specialist in the software aspects of it much to a higher degree.
Is the software more, how should I put it, more important to be repaired than the hardware?
No, it's like a car. You need somebody to build the car, and you need somebody to drive the car. One without the other is useless. When my computer goes bad, I take it to a repair professional. I'm not a computer repair expert. If a computer is working, I can do some pretty interesting things with it. But if it's not working, I'm just as I'm useless anyway. So we depend on each other. The hardware folks depend upon the software folks, because you could build the best machine in the world. If there's no software, it doesn't do anything. It's a paperweight. If you have really good software skills, but your computer starts smoking every time you turn it on, there's no point to knowing all those things. So there's really no better or worse. They both need each other.
When you say the word computer, are you referring to, okay, I have this and this? Are they both computers?
They're both computers.
Both computers?
A combination of software and hardware to do
we
things.
don't consider repairing a device like this. We just change it. I don't know where all the old ones are going. And basically the same thing with tablets and laptops. But what we do more often is deal with programming, updating. For one,
I think some of that is just financial. It may be worth it to replace something rather than to repair it. It just depends. And of course, Belize doesn't have like iPhone repair specialists. So even if you could repair it here locally, it'd probably be cheaper and faster to just buy a replacement. And people are always looking for the latest technology anyway.
But that's marketing, isn't it? Again,
it is. I mean, I don't have the latest stuff.
Yeah.
But what I try to use it.
Coming from you, That's quite a remark, because you appreciate what you have at the moment.
Sure, and I was never a big social media person. Interestingly enough, I mean, I live in that field, but you know, it was always surprising to me that people want to send, you know, updates of their life every 5 minutes. Like, I don't need that kind of coverage, I guess. Yeah.
Once it works, it works.
I can appreciate the technology, but I don't, you know, to me, social media has always been a level of mystery. I understand Facebook, people, you can communicate with people all over the world, but the frequent media attention that people seem to crave these days is something that's alien to me.
Being familiar with our young people as students and the whole computer science program thing and technology and all that, how knowledgeable are our young people when it comes to that subject, as opposed to kids in Taiwan, for instance, or in the United States? Where would you fit us?
I think computer science is a great equalizer because it doesn't depend upon your national economy. It doesn't depend upon your location in the world. Anybody can go on the internet, and you have access to all of human knowledge for the past couple hundred years, I suppose, right? So Belize is not at any kind of a disadvantage when it comes to information. Obviously, we have some problems or, you know, some challenges obtaining the best hardware, the best programming environment. We still have some things to do in terms of encouraging the industries that are technology related in our country. But there really aren't the kinds of barriers as to, say, setting up a manufacturing plant. I am a professor, so I'm also involved in some research. But the research for computer science doesn't always require a huge lab. For example, if I was a biologist, I would need a sterile environment. I would need all kinds of reagents and samples and so on. For computer science, you can do a lot with a laptop. And so we have less barriers in terms of the resources, I think, than many other scientific fields.
Yeah.
Right? And so Belize should not feel it's behind in any way in terms of what it can accomplish and what opportunities are available to it within the field of technology.
One last thing before I just wanted to go back and give us the details about the computer science at Galen, but creativity. That seems to be where a lot of the money is. The creativity within the whole computer science knowledge that we have, and that comes from exposure or demand. Again, would we be inspired to be more creative if we lived in a bigger country, for instance, or we had more demand from a larger population?
I'm not sure, because I think that we consume media from the U.S. and the other parts of the world a lot, so we're certainly exposed to the worldwide standards.
Okay.
You know, I teach a computer graphics course where, using just plain free software, I show them how to create images and some animations that, if they practiced at it, could be applied to the film industry, the special effects industry. A lot of the software that's being used in professional settings is something that's available for free to download right now if you know where to look.
Okay.
And so
I always hear that from persons like you. You need to know where to look.
Yeah,
you know?
that's a part of it, sure.
All right. Well, Galen University, if you are interested in a computer science program, you said it's a 4-year program. If you
start
come directly from high school, but you can do sixth form, and then Galen will lead you up to.
And we're also
bachelor's.
implementing that associate's degree very soon.
And you do okay.
Yes.
And short courses.
Right, a
that
short
may be
series
coming
of
up
courses.
later on.
Right, hopefully this year we're rolling that out.
How do I get in touch with you?
So you can go to galen.edu.bz, and if you go to academics, you can go to faculty, and you can see those of us who teach in different departments. My email address is daguilar@galen.edu.bz, and anybody can contact me if they have information about the program they'd like to cover. We also have our admissions website, just right off of the same base one, where we can get in touch with our recruitment specialists, our intake professionals, and they can give you some information as well about the school in general.
Dr. Aguilar, thank you for coming in this morning. I want to invite you back to come and let's have a show on all this talk about artificial intelligence.
Sure.
And it's going to take over the world. In fact, we're already seeing examples of that. And in the political arena, for instance, it can be influential, and there are positive sides to it, but also there are dangers when it comes to the misuse. And human beings will misuse something at some point in time to benefit themselves. We know that.
Right. I'm definitely looking forward to such a conversation.
Yeah, we could do that. We'd love to do that. Okay, Dr. David Aguilar, Computer Science Program Coordinator at Galen University, and choose Galen if you're interested in that. That's the message this morning. We'll be right back with the morning show.
Love a summer explosion.